All right, this is Gigi No Re. We're going to briefly talk about this mini Gigi No Re episode. Well, tiny Gigi No Re episode. Gigi No Re episodelet. We're talking about Xanathar's downtime rules. We just did them for the first time. Now, we didn't engage in a lot of flavor, which is what you would do normally in a campaign. We just went through them mechanically to see how they worked, and we have some thoughts about it. I don't know what the guys think about it, but that's what we're going to talk about right now, because we were just playing and I thought, let's just record this. Why not? So we had
LOL.
we had 6 players, and none of us had done this before. I had read the rules, so I was familiar with how it worked. But the downtime procedures are meant for mechanizing what you do in between actual adventures. So I was thinking that this would be a cool way to just improvise an entire campaign, but devote a lot of attention to these procedures where they're not like a sideshow, but they're almost equal in importance with the adventures. So like when you go pit fighting like Stefano and Tim did, you zoom in and really immerse yourself in what that would be like and come up with NPCs that are recurring and go and imagine the situations thoroughly to try to enjoy it, and then do the procedures. And then if particular characters are created during these times, you could reuse those. I think that would be a cool way to do it, and low prep if people were collaborative about it, which I think would be kind of cool. But we did, what do you guys think, general impressions?
I think there's some fine options, like if you go in for a longer campaign, it seems like it's fine, but like I didn't play the last session, so I didn't have like any gold and all that stuff to really consider spending, so I was just like, oh, I'll just do whatever makes me money, which is the pit fighting one.
Actually,
but then it's
a really good way to earn money.
There are other ones, yeah, but that was the one that interested me. And the it still kind of came down to just like a skill check.
Yeah, it's really boring. Like, it is the absolute minimum of rules that they could have used. It's like the lowest effort possible, I think, from them.
Yep, yeah, and I mean, obviously you could expand on that and say, oh, well, you did pit fighting. Well, let's have like a little mini fight if you're trying to be creative. But I mean, the quickest way is, okay, roll them. Yeah, you make some money or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, the way they did pit fighting and then some other ones, there's a general technique that they're using where for about half the things, I guess, you roll 3 different skill checks and compare how many hits you got to a table. And then there are varying results based on that. And then for most of the activities, there are chances of complications, which is, I think, where it would be really fun if you're doing this as part of a real campaign, where rivals and enemies and so forth would get introduced and reincorporated. But we didn't get any complications this time. There's generally a 10% chance each week that goes by that there's a complication. Oh no, we did get one complication. Jim, his character is a cleric and did the religious service downtime activity. And the benefit of that has no cost other than time. And the benefit is that you get favors, which I kind of like that. It's just something you can redeem to get like literally favors from actual people in the church hierarchy, or the DM can cash them in for minor miracles or divine guidance and that kind of stuff in the campaign. I think that's really fun. I know I would do that if I were a player, and as a DM, I would be using those quite liberally, I think. So his complication was to get offered a membership in a secret sect of his religion.
Hey,
the magic. Go ahead, Steph.
Sorry. On the pit fighting thing, one thing that I think would be really cool you mentioned is having like a mini fight, straight up one-on-one. I would love for that to be part of it, but I think it'd be really cool too if there were like several opponents and you kind of had to randomly pick them.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, but just like an NPC generator.
Yeah, and they sort of ran the gamut from like, oh, this dude is soft, to you will get killed with one blow, as it were.
Yeah, and I also at the same time think that sounds awful.
Yeah, Jim's thinking, I don't want to just sit here while 30 minutes go by.
No, yeah, I know.
So yeah, I could see why they do skill checks, but there's a way to make the skill checks more flavorful and immersive, rather than like they don't require you to do any fictional input at all to create the mechanical output. If they had you make like fictional choices, or they zoomed into particular moments in the fight, and then you made skill checks that were different based on what fictional elements you chose, I think that would be a better approach. But none of these things do that. So Asa, you did crime, which is it's called crime, but it's basically just breaking and entering. That's really the only thing it covers.
A good old B&E.
And that one's very high risk and little reward, it seems to me. You netted about 25 gold with a DC 15 difficulty.
With a chance to go to prison.
Yeah, with a chance to go to prison and pay a fine.
Right.
Should have offered insurance fraud.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Embezzling, would have been a much more lucrative route.
And just buy social security numbers. Yeah, that's what you needed to do. And then
we need to have a spider that runs the dark web.
Stacy, you have a wizard, I think. Yeah. And you chose the craft spell scrolls. Those rules are very straightforward. If you have first level spells, you spend 25 gold and you can make 1 scroll a day.
Yeah,
Also, that seems really broke.
It seems really what?
Really broke. That's you being able to make that many scrolls in a week. That's amazing. I mean, that's a lot of spell casting.
You make it one a day.
Really
So
is.
Well, I mean, those add up. You're not going to use all 7 of your scrolls next time, so you could have this
you
library.
never know.
Oh, did you roll a complication? Because I think there's a complication with each creation of the scroll.
Let me look
He
that up.
didn't. He just said there was no complication. Don't screw this up for me, Jim.
Crafting an item. Let's see.
Oh, it's not
10%
under
chance of complication per week.
per week. Yeah, I
Spell
did, and there was no complication.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, and that basically just gives you extra spell slots. Because I think all you have to do is spend an action to bring the scroll out, right? And then you
just
an action to cast it.
Magic missiles. They all hit every time.
Yeah, I know. You're just
It's
gonna be
amazing.
You're gonna be a glass cannon.
I really want that wand of magic missile. Oh my
That
gosh.
is great.
That is amazing.
I don't
Well, it
know.
probably wouldn't be like that hard to make. I mean,
We'll
Depending
find
on where
out
he's.
next time.
it's 2
Depending on-
weeks, 200 GP, and a key ingredient.
Yep.
Depending on where he stores his scrolls, it may not actually cost him an action to take them out.
He
Is
can
that-
carry them all around in his hand.
I would have to look up the rules. I was looking up some of the rules. I think you might be right about that. I think you get 1 free mess with an item per turn.
Yeah, like you can draw a weapon for free.
It's just the shield that's different. That it's considered armor, and it takes an action to don and doff.
Yeah. I want to go talk to a smithy about, the intricacies of reloading hand crossbows and see if he can fashion me a shield.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I
Hand
guess
crossbow shield.
I guess I would let
Yeah, well-
you, if you wanted to, try to have a long-term goal to create like a repeating crossbow or a shield
Yeah,
that
well,
permitted
that's
you to.
cool.
I
To
want
do
there to
whatever.
be crossbows or bolts on the shield, and then I can just slide my hand crossbow across the front of my shield to reload.
Why not just have like a clip?
That seems more complicated.
Yeah, why
So
not
you just need
like
a-
drum magazine quiver that
Just get on the
I want to have to lay them out on the floor.
It sounds
the
like something a
slingshot
gnome
channel.
would make.
go check out Jorg's Brave
I was
on
just
the
thinking of that.
Slingshot channel.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
He's literally
Yeah.
done that already.
And it's so good.
Yeah, and so
It's fantastic.
Should probably link to that.
for doing that, that's just crafting a mundane item, and the rules for that is basically you take the market price of whatever it would be, and then divide that by 50, and that's how many weeks it takes.
Oh,
And
okay.
And you can
I
split
feel like it would be really expensive.
you can split that up between different people. Like if you have people helping you, or if you hire people, you just split up the weeks between you. So crafting plate takes like, I don't know, the better part of a year if you do it by yourself, because it's 1,500 gold. But so that's 30 weeks, I guess. Yeah. But it's okay. It's very simple, so I don't really mind it. And the magical item crafting rules I really like. So this is other than healing potions and spell scrolls. For other ones, you have to find a formula, which is up to GM discretion, and pay some kind of minimum fee based on how fancy it is. That's in raw materials. But then after that, you have to go get an exotic or key ingredient by slaying a monster or going to a particular dungeon, which I like a lot. That's really fun.
So I think that the rules are good in that you don't have to have a bunch of on-camera time to kind of resolve the time in between dungeons, because maybe that's not what everyone wants to do. Like, you don't want to sit around and listen to half hour of each character with your character just completely out of it, and you can just like roll to see how
Conversely,
you rank.
I would like that to be even the focus of a campaign, where that is intended to generate adventure. So you do it in the complications, you roll with them, and then you go from there. Like you could have it entirely improvised if you use dungeon generators and so forth.
I think you should go one way or the other. Like it either needs
Yep.
to be this of your campaign, or it needs to be like we did it, where it was just, hey, roll, see what you get. And maybe you could spin off some cool stuff, like with Jim and the complication there, like getting maybe a bond or something like that. That's kind of cool.
Yep.
Yeah, looking at it, I think spinning off like any complication would be interesting. There's also the carousing table.
The carousing table, I mean, that came out
Pretty
of
simple.
OSR, but all that gets you is contacts, which is very strange. Carousing tables originally, so D&D just got these from indie folks. Originally, they're meant to give you XP and just create a bunch of fun stuff, like randomly happens. Like you wake up and X. But this is just meant to give you contacts with like the nobility, the middle class, or the lower class, which is okay, but it's just not as flavorful as it could have been.
It can be flavorful if you're really role playing it. Like you find somebody and you ask them to be a patron. Okay, I'm on an adventure. I'm trying to kill this dragon thing. You want this dragon dead? Yeah, I do. Okay, well then why don't you invest in me and help me get plate armor or something, and like go through like something like that.
Totally
I'll do
great.
that.
What I'm talking about is just at the table level, the source material from which WotC got this is much more flavorful. Just the results of the tables are really cool. They're like D100 tables and have a lot of detail.
So would you want, like say I got the hand crossbow and I wanted to make a repeating hand crossbow, would I add the cost of crossbow bolts plus the crossbow and then divide that by 50?
I mean, I feel like it's got to be way more than that. But
crafting...
That's a week and a half.
Crafting the crossbow is not... Crossbow bolts are not relevant to that. So
well, I was thinking
I would just
how
have to
many
set
I
up...
could
There is
fit
no item that you can buy that's repeating crossbow. So there is no price for it. So I would just have to set a price.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And probably I would make you do research first to figure out how to do it.
Okay.
Which is another downtime activity.
So to me, I view these as activity like in combat, where I mean it's just an action you can take, and they are quickly resolved, and they get the job done, and you get to move on to the next thing. Yeah. And maybe you only dwell on the things that are complicated or turn out interesting in some kind of way, and I think they're useful in that regard. So
the way research works, by the way, is you just spend some minimum amount of money. It's like 50. And if you spend longer and more money, you can get bonus on the check. And then there's a simple table where you either learn nothing, 1 piece of lore, 2 pieces, or 3 pieces of lore. And the lore is just whatever you're after. So it's very straightforward. It's good for quick resolution, but it could also be fun, like I said, if you were to have a campaign that focused on that. But so that's what I would do. I would say you need 1 piece of lore about, repeating crossbows. Or maybe 2. You could say
what's the worst?
It's complicated, so you'll need 3 total. And so you may have to work and do several checks to get enough pieces of lore to figure it out.
And befriend a gnome.
Yeah.
God, that's the worst part.
It's not worth it.
You have to act like you like them.
No, it's not
and they're so tiny. Anyways, so I'm just looking at this, and work is so lame. That is the worst.
It is the worst one. Well,
could you imagine the guy who chooses that every week?
You just get the benefit is you don't starve.
It's not much, but it's honest work.
And it still has complications. There's still a 10% chance.
You don't get paid. Yeah, that's great.
Complications don't sound that bad, though. Are they necessarily always bad?
They're not always bad.
There's a strike at the mill.
They could be fun. Like, this one's great. A crime ring targets your business for extortion. Well, that's just an adventure hook. I mean, that's awesome. I was like, we're going to go...
The IRS.
Yeah. So I like the complications. I think that's where the heart of this stuff is. But again, if you just are doing it to get through it, I could see where complication could be annoying. But it just depends on how you use it. I think it's fine. It's okay. That's my
like in the past, we've done these rules in an ad hoc kind of way. Like buying a magic item, we'd make up some person, and you'd go to a shop, and you'd converse with this person and negotiate, and it's all cute, and it takes a lot of time. And I guess that's one thing if that's really what the group wants to do. But here it is, just buying a magic item, and you skip all the fictional stuff in the middle unless it's interesting, unless it's complicated.
So the rules are okay. They're serviceable. Are they worth spending $35 to get the book? No. We bought it because they have extra spells, and it just works easily if you're playing remotely to have them on your character sheet on D&D Beyond. But if you want to use this without spending the money to buy it, just come up with different things you want people to do, set a price and time and money, and then a complication table. That's it.
I mean, there's a ton of these rules for free on the internet. So
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, you can always get this for free, but they're perfectly serviceable. And I think in this campaign we'll continue to do them probably between sessions, just so you can have something to spend your money on while we're not playing. This has been GG No Re. You probably heard a bunch of dogs in the background because it's quarantine time. It's quarantine GG No Re. It's raw. It's unfiltered. Don't get coronavirus. Bye.